Okay, it says we're live. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. You're going to get all the sing-song today because that's just where my brain is at.
It's okay.
Oh, goodness. Well, first of all, just wanted to say thank you so much for your time, Tereza. As we've been kind of playing with these a little bit, the whole intent behind the Meet PyLadies series is just to showcase some of the really cool work that PyLadies members are doing around the world. And I, again, am super thankful that you're like, sure, I will talk to you about things. But let's go ahead and get it kicked off. Would you mind telling me your name, your pronouns, and where you're based?
Yeah, so my name is Tereza Iofciu. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm based in Hamburg, Germany. So you're in the small window of daylight in both of our locations.
Yeah, I know we did a little bit of calendar hockey to find a time that would work for us both because, let's be real, calendar hockey is hard.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Teresa, would you mind telling me a little bit about how you got started working in the tech space?
Well, I studied computer science, so I guess that was kind of, it just rolled. Yeah, so it seemed like the right thing to do back then in year 2000. Like the choices were like I was good at math and physics, and then it was like being a teacher. So I'm from Romania, and back then in school the professors were not really respected. So it seemed like it's not going to be a nice life to be a professor. So computer science seemed like something for the future. So I went for that, and then kind of just be the right time, right place thing happened because I ended up in Germany, and then I did a PhD in information retrieval, which was before data science was invented, and then it became data science. So then I finished a PhD in data science, would be now, and that was also very fortunate. And then I stayed in the field.
So so you actually studied computer science. So between studying for undergrad or university level computer science to actually making the decision to go on to your PhD, did you go pretty quickly? Did you work in between?
So I worked in the last year of university.
Mm-hmm.
It was outsourcing. We were working, so as a company in Romania, we were outsourcing for IBM, but I think hired anyway. So it was like very complicated, but we were really earning 250 euros a month to work almost full time. Oh. And we were hired because we were the only C# developers in town. So it was like, yeah, because we participated in university in this Imagine Cup Microsoft competition, and we were like, it was supposed to be in C#, so we knew C#. So that's how we ended up working there. And so I think it kind of gave me like this view on like what it is to be employed at the time in Romania in this outsourcing thing, like underpaid and stuff. And when the opportunity came to do the degree, so it was like I had this university, this 5 years one, which would be now bachelor and master's. So I had the opportunity to write my thesis as a project at a research institute in Hanover, and it was like, I don't know, 600 euros a month for part-time. And I was like, wow, that's like so much more money. So I'm going. And then I stayed for the PhD. It was just like, I think it's also a little bit different in Germany. The PhD is like you already work. It's like you work for European Union projects, and you have to write a lot of publications. And yeah, so it was fun. I know there's a lot of people that get like very depressed during their PhDs, but I was lucky. I ended up somewhere where the professor was from Austria, and he really cared about diversity. He really tried to get like a 50-50 quota. So I didn't really feel like lack of diversity until I ended up having a job after my PhD. And then I was the only woman developer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so you did a kind of like the equivalent of a bachelor's and master's, and then since you were ready, you were on that route. It's like, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
What did you end up doing your dissertation in? What was your area of research?
So search engines. So it was, I think the final thesis was on users, so user profiling and entity recognition on the web, entity search. So a lot of Wikipedia experiments, a lot of tags identifying users, what's the identifying communities between users, where do users belong to, and stuff like this. Yeah, and that's why when I after that I ended up working at the German, I call it the German LinkedIn, it's Xing. It's the same like LinkedIn, but the one working in Germany, and there was a lot of recommender systems and users and stuff, so it really fit. It was I was again right timing. I think, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting because your PhD is in information retrievals. Is that what the actual?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I kind of reflect. So unlike you, I don't come from the computer science background. I actually came in to it more as an applied social science researcher. So working in politics, and I just happened to work on the Obama campaign. So it was more like I had a project question and I had to pick up the technical skill sets to work on it. But I always tell people, they're like, "Oh, how did you wind up?" Because a data engineer, I kind of work right at that edge. They're like, "So how did you get into data science?" I'm like, "I don't know. I was doing it before it was a Wikipedia term." And I once had a student like gasp, like, "Oh, how old are you?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh." It's kind of funny, but yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. What have been some of the biggest things you have observed that have kind of shifted in, be it you call it data science? I know some people, they might say that they work in AI, or some people more tangibly say that they're a machine learning engineer. So whatever that means to you, what have been some big things that you have seen shift in recent years, be it industry trends or what kind of things you're getting excited about?
Yeah, so that's like a huge question.
I'm just gonna throw it out there and you run with it.
Yeah. So I've basically, I think in the data science field, I've been everywhere. So I think in my last position, I ended up starting as a data engineer because there was no data infrastructure, and it didn't feel like the right thing to do to start data science when you don't have data infrastructure. Because I was like, I'm not gonna like CSV everything every day, over and over again. It's like, and so basically I worked for like a year and a half as a data engineer, and I think retrospectively that has been like a huge benefit. I think it's like a really it's been like a really it just, you have a different mindset about stuff, right? Like putting stuff in production. And in the end, I think the shift, so whereas there was like a couple of years, like, I don't know, a couple is like more or less, a lot of companies just wanted data scientists, a lot of data scientists, it was a little bit undefined, and you had to be good at statistics and just talk data stories well. And now the shift is more like, but we need to get value right away. So the shift is like, we want this data scientist that can do everything. It's like, and then you have these job applications, and you're like, you can do that, you can put that in production and do that, and like expert in SQL and expert in that, and also know everything about everything. And I think, good luck with that.
Well, I mean, that's actually a really poignant theme, right? I mean, we've heard it in so many ways. If you're, being a rock star engineer, or like, ninja, or a 10-time X, or all those kind of terms. But, the way we've seen it in the data science space, explicitly what you're getting to is this idea that you're a unicorn, right? You can do all the things. And that has never been my experience. I've never seen teams like that. So, can you tell us a little bit about your day job? Because I think it would be interesting to kind of understand how you think about building a data science team, since you do actually lead a team. Why don't you tell us a little about that?
Yeah. So basically, I'm leading a data science team. To be honest, we did go a little bit into this building data product side. So it's more like, I would say in other places it would be called like a machine learning engineering team. So we are, we are doing, let's say, a lot of models, but usually when let's say the team is fairly new, so mostly every first model is better than what was before.
Mm-hmm.
So we just end up doing a lot of first ones. So it doesn't end up, because I have like a lot of people say, oh, we would like love to do some really complex models. Yeah, at some point, I guess, when we get to version 2 or something. But yeah, so I think the experiment that I've done this year was to say that everybody in the data science team needs to be able to do a little bit of data engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So that this overhead of like you've done everything and then you have to rewrite it again because you did it completely, like, doesn't reflect reality of what we have. We don't have time for this, and nobody wants to do this cleanup after anybody. So let's be a little bit like working together rather than I work that way and you work that way, and then we meet somewhere.
How big is your team at your day job?
Yeah, so I think currently 8 people.
Currently 8, yeah. And then does your team...
And a product owner. And a product manager, yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. I was actually going to say, is your team kind of a cross-function team?
Yes.
Like, do you have folks? So what does that spread kind of look like for the actual individuals? Are they all data scientists? Like, what's the actual kind of titles makeup of your team?
So I think we have 3 that are officially machine learning engineers.
Okay.
So out of which, let's say, one studied sociology and ended up doing a master's in machine learning, because why not? And then did data science, but ended up going more into the engineering side. So it's like, I think there are 2 types of people that end up doing coding. Is the ones that study computer science and they just do coding because it's like the stuff you do when you study computer science. Mm-hmm. And there's maybe people like you that study completely something else and then they get into coding because they need it, and it's, oh my god, it's so nice and pretty and languages, and then they get like really passionate about it. So I never got to that level myself because I studied computer science. So it's like,
but I have no excitement or passion. I'm totally teasing. I'm just picking it.
Yeah. So and then I think we have the others are like data scientists. And I think we have also, so at some point we had like 2.5 juniors, so like to say, so like a lot of juniors, I think, that are transitioning now to not being junior anymore. But so basically, it's a mix. And then as 3 machine learning engineers, not really enough for putting stuff in production, and that's why we said like because a lot of the stuff is like kind of repetitive and it's not that complicated once you've done it once, and it's I think to say let's hire somebody that just does that is a bit unfair when we could all do that. So that's why everybody's currently kind of learning how to put stuff in production, and then we try to make things a bit more smoother.
I think that's a really good perspective to have, is, making sure that people understand and they can empathize, the end-to-end build cycle. I don't mean to suggest that this is your experience, but having worked in the space that I've been on, historically, I was on a data science team, and we kind of hired in a way where we were overhiring for folks who actually had that data science title, and we were underhiring for folks that have and again, back to, we need to have fundamentals. We need to have that good infrastructure in place. We need to have really, really good ability to do analytics on our data. So, making sure you're setting yourselves up for success is definitely a big one. So when, I guess, is the folks that are your ML engineers, do they all come out of kind of a research background, or? No.
So I think, so it's a bit, some studied economics, some studied computer science, some studied sociology. So it's more like, it's just I think it's more like people who are interested in writing, I guess, good back-end software, but with understanding data. I would say, because in the end, it is backend, right?
It'll be interesting, what we call today a machine learning engineer. What will that be in 5 years from now, right?
Oh, and DevOps, So let's not forget DevOps.
DevOps are very important people.
I think in 5 years, I don't know. There's so much software written in order to replace everybody, so I don't know what's in 5 years.
I feel like what's really interesting with so I guess for your team, how do you all kind of stay relevant? Because what you're describing is you have a team that are cross-functional specialists. You have people that come from a wide variety of backgrounds, and then you kind of hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of innovation happening in, be it if you call it scientific computing or if you just call it, machine learning. There's a lot going on there. So kind of how does your team stay relevant in industry trends, or how do you all prioritize what to work on and learn? Do you have any thoughts or kind of feels for that?
Yeah, I think so. You're hearing the dog snoring. Maybe there's a dog snoring here. So he's really tired.
Oh my gosh, so cute. What's the dog's name?
Brutus.
Brutus? So yes. Cute. I love hearing the little.
So he's like, yeah. So basically, I think it's not really like something forced. I think a lot of people are having different incentives to learning, and so what I've been doing would be encouraging people to go to conferences and whether they give a talk or not, try to give a talk, organize workshops, get involved in meetups, do meetups. So I think 3 people from, like, also we have in Berlin a team, and currently there are 4 people who are doing now meetup organizers. So it's like, and it's not just PyLadies, right? We have time series meetup. There's Coral Aid, with like an volunteering based data science thing. Pi Berlin, so it's like, I think like people read stuff and then they share it and then they learn it and then they advertise that they learn it, and other people are like either interested and follow up or not. So it's like, it's a bit, but there's a lot of information, definitely.
Well, I think that's really cool to hear that there's such a strong sense of kind of community, in the data science space. Again, not that this is different even in engineering teams, but that culture of learning and sharing. And with my background being that I stumbled into it because I kind of had a passion for a problem space to work on, it was always for me like picking up a white paper, seeing if I could try something out, and then if I could, let's turn it into a conference talk. Like that's literally been my life of like how I got to where I am today. So I think that sense of collaboration is very, very important, what you're striking on, particularly in having a dynamic and robust data science practice, because you have to lean on one another. There's a lot of that collaboration. Now, can you talk to us a little bit about your work with PyLadies, such as what's your chapter? What exactly are you doing in the PyLadies space? And how did you actually come across PyLadies?
Yeah, I think, so my chapter is the Hamburg PyLadies. I started it 2 years ago. I think, I started because I saw, like, I kind of noticed on Twitter the action in Berlin, on PyLadies Berlin, and I was like, that's really cool. And I'm lazy to go to a meetup in Berlin. And it was like pre-corona, so everything was not online. You had to go and travel. So I tried really hard to motivate myself to go to Berlin, spend 2 days there so I can participate at a meetup in the evening. And in the end, I got in touch with the PyLadies Berlin to kind of get resources, how they started, like what to do, whatever. And then I started the Hamburg chapter. We started with a book club, reading a book together and talking, so that nobody had the stress of preparing something for an unknown number of first comers.
Book clubs are a good way to start.
Yeah. So it was basically, sorry. I started because there was a void in Hamburg, so to say.
Okay.
So I felt, I think 2 years ago, I was feeling like if I don't do this, I will have to move out of the city.
That's a big like.
Yeah. So
that's a big.
But really, I started, I was like, my plan was to kind of bring diversity to Hamburg, because Hamburg had, like, I think 2 years ago was like not like much talk about it, right? So there were some efforts and they went dormant, and some older ones, but they weren't active anymore, right? And it was just like, most of the meetups you were going, they were like mostly like, I don't know, 95% men. So it was just like not interesting on attending. And
That's
yeah.
fair. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also the topic, because like if I like, I don't know, I really went for doing a lot of workshops, because when I was checking out the PyLadies in United States, so like if you look at San Francisco and all sorts of other cities, everywhere, every evening there's some workshop, you can learn something.
Yeah.
And Hamburg was just like talks. I will show you this Jupyter notebook where I did this neural network that does this, and I solved the problem that I wanted to solve.
Right.
And this is the software we use at the office, so I can't give you any code.
That is a little frustrating when you see like a really cool talk and you want to get into the guts of like how that's implemented and proprietary.
Exactly. And I was like, yeah, I think I kind of need this, like we need like this workshop-y style, and just to go for more aspects of software, which was tricky at the beginning because most of the ladies that came to PyLadies were all from data something, so everybody wanted to do data analysis, and I was like, yeah, let's do something else too. Yeah.
Is there in your immediate area, because you do some work with some other organizations in the Python space, would you mind talking to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was also part of the I used to be part of the PyData meetup. And otherwise, I'm board member of Python Software Verband, which is the German. Well, it is not just in Germany, but I think in all the German-speaking areas.
Okay.
It's the organization backing, for example, PyCon Berlin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I joined it last year to together with Alexander Hendorf, to bring a lot of change. Well, change is happening a little bit slower than was expected, because it's Germany, like bureaucracy is like amazing, but so there's that. Soon the website is going to be also in English. So far it's just in German, but yeah.
So I know so you were saying that this organization is present in Germanic speaking countries, and some of the things that this organization oversees is the bigger PyCons, I guess, in the area.
Yes.
So is that just PyCon Berlin, or is it other events that this group helps with as well, or what specifically?
So whoever applies for sponsorship. So I think we did last year, Jenny Chung and I did Python Pizza Hamburg. Okay. And we basically applied for some funding, a little bit of funding everywhere. We applied at EuroPython for travel grants. We applied with Python Software Foundation they paid for the pizza. We applied also with the Python Software Verband, and they also sponsored things. So they sponsor all sorts of, so you can become a member. And I think the membership is 60 euros or something like that. And then and this money goes into helping all sorts of educational initiatives around Python.
I will link the grants program. The grants program is for the Python Software Foundation is in a little bit of a state of flux, just because we're obviously not going to be doing person events, given that everything is, it's 2020. We're making sure people be safe and they don't expose themselves to COVID. But I just linked, it's hamburg.python.pizza. And then I linked the grants program because you made reference to that, which for people who may not know, if you are a person doing stuff with Python, the grants program in a normal year would be available to help you with in-person events, but there will definitely be opportunities for supporting events that are going to be virtual. You can check that out on the website. There's going to be a little bit of an overhaul that we're going to be kicking off later. So that's that program, which is really cool. But
So for example, last year for PyLadies, we did an IoT series of meetups where we needed Raspberry Pis and humidity sensors. And for that, I also applied for funding from both the Python Software Foundation and Python Software Verband and Adafruit. Adafruit also sent us the sensors. So just ask. People end up saying yes. So it's it's really cool.
Well, I love very much that when you think about kind of what does it mean to build community and to do events, talks are good, but having a variety of ways that you can bring someone an opportunity and really encourage them to get their hands in on it. Because, I can listen to like talks and be like, that's really nifty. But unless I'm like doing it, I don't get that kind of memory. And, workshops are good.
And it's also like what I noticed when we did this workshop. So at least the IoT one, which basically was you set up a Raspberry Pi, you collect weather data in your flat, you create a dashboard, you have it running live, you have the service running on the Raspberry Pi, shouldn't die if your Raspberry Pi dies, So it's all of those things that in the end, like when you're at work, you have those as part of a more end-to-end kind of thing. And we had a lot of the people at the meetup was like, wow, this is really cool. Like because normally sometimes you work in bigger companies, then you end up being so specialized that you do not know how your stuff gets connected with the rest of the world, right?
Yes.
And then you get like, a lot of people get like, oh, I can't do that. I have no idea what that is, and then like, they just don't even try, and then you say like, look, it's that easy. And then they're like, oh, okay. So it's more about bringing this awareness of connecting things and where to go to find stuff.
I think the IoT space is so great because you can get, again, kind of hobbyists and do things. I made a theremin, which is somewhere in my house with the Raspberry Pi, which is really fun. But I love it because you can work with kids, you can work with all, folks of all ages. And I think what you're speaking to, Tereza, about like actually having someone see end to end, like this is the thing I did. Yeah, sometimes when you can't point and be like, that's the thing I did, having that sense of accomplishment is important. So then you mentioned that you kicked off PyLadies by starting with a book club. Out of curiosity, what book were you all reading?
Yeah, Weapons of Math Destruction.
Okay, well, we've done that so I help organize Chicago. So we've done that book before. It's a good one. It's a really, really good book.
Yeah, it was because I was listening to this podcast and it was Emily Robinson from Our Ladies New York. And she was talking about the book club. So I just reached out to her and I was like, so what's the rules of engagement in your book club? So she basically, she said like, yeah, we do this and this and this. And then we just, I don't know. I needed kind of like the blueprint. So to feel like, that I'm not having like a huge to-do list, so it was,
And I think the way, when we think about, what kind of events can we do, obviously, there's a lot happening in the virtual space, but I think there's a lot of dialogue around, this assumption for many people that work in tech, tech is not neutral. And so having that dialogue, it's highly topical again right now. When I'm working through is so good. It just, I've reread it now like twice, but I think a book club's a really great way to start. Have you all done any, have you ran in your chapters any, like any classes, like doing any online MOOCs or anything like that? Or have you found that you just maybe try to do more of the small one-off kind of workshops?
So the IoT workshop was like a long series.
Okay.
So it was, because first we had to set up the Raspberry Pi, and you have no idea when you set up an IoT workshop that nothing is going to work the first time around, right? So
nothing ever works.
Yeah, so you talk to the location, you do the meetups, like, we need internet. Do you have internet? Like, we need SSH. Yeah. We get there. No, it doesn't work.
We might need this thing called the internet.
No, but they had like this internet that you put a code and a pin and whatever, and that doesn't work with the Raspberry Pi. So then we're like, okay, this is nice. So basically, I think because at the time we also wanted to go into cryptocurrency with it, so to put the data on IOTA, which is this Python cryptocurrency thing, so you can like publish the data there and then get the data back. So it was like I think in the end it was a series of 6 meetups.
Oh, well, did you do that like over the course of like
3 months?
1 a month?
Like about 3 months, yeah.
Okay, that's manageable. I was gonna say if you did it all in like 1 month, I would just be like that. I feel exhausted for you.
No. It was also several. We also like kind of modularized the work so that different people can take different parts to prepare it, because it was a bit. disconnectable, so to say. You have, as I said, the software that writes the data versus the software that reads the data, and what you do with the data after you read the data and stuff like this, and the service and things like that. This can be prepared by various people. So it was more like that. Now we are also doing a series on DevOpsy stuff. So I think this is together with the Berlin crew. They already run it, and then we rerun it in Hamburg. We put the videos on the YouTube.
Yes, yeah. That's
that one. And I think they are preparing another one for October or September. The date keeps moving because, life. Yeah. So, I think the idea is to just go a little bit over all of these things that are around the little piece of software that you use. Like you have this software here, but in order for this to run, you need to do a lot of other things.
Right.
Just go over all of those in a series of different meetups. Yeah.
And if people want to find those events, I'm guessing the best way to stay up is with PyLadies Hamburg Twitter handle, or would there be a better place?
And Twitter, PyLadies Hamburg Twitter, and we have the new website now. Thank you.
Is hamburg.pyladies.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there, yes. Then the Twitter feed there is also shown. And in basically meetup, we try to announce. I think during Corona, we only we had a phase of life overload. So we went back to doing book clubs because nobody had the energy to prepare anything.
That's fair. That's completely fair. Actually, the one I keep saying I want to run this one again. We did a few of these for Chicago, but just going through one of the fast.ai classes, I think would be really cool.
Yes,
I would really love to do that. So maybe you and I should keep talking about it. But for people who may not know about, or how about this? Tereza, what do you know about fast.ai?
That I know about it, and I haven't used it because I didn't need to, but it's also on the list.
You're like,
I think
skills.
So I think what we are doing now, refactoring some of the services, and the idea is to move them off Flask to Fast API.
Hey, Karen, I'm seeing in the feed that you said, is this a regular event? Do you mean the workshops that Tereza is talking about for PyLadies Hamburg, or were you referencing the fast.ai coursework that I'm trying to gently suggest Tereza should help organize with me? I'll keep an eye on the feed, but if it's about the workshops, you've got a set of workshops that you're working on, and people can find that calendar at hamburg.pyladies.com. And this MOOC, we're joking and saying we should do it. And I like how I just keep staring at you with like a smile on my face today. So like, what do you think?
Yeah, we do it. Let's do it. I usually, so the only way I basically have the energy to learn anything is by organizing something about it these days. So I cannot just sit down and like, oh, I really need to learn this. I'm like, oh, God.
Well, yeah, I think the thing that I've heard about fast.ai, which is just really cool, is that for getting into deep learning, it's just very nicely written. It's got good community support. So a lot of people have done this class. So the community threads are just pretty active. And again, like you said, Tereza, like having a format that works when you're running events, that makes it just a bit easier.
Did you take the course?
I've taken the course before. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the guys in my team has taken the course. So I thought you asked about Fast API, which is a bit more like smaller, but also cool. So there's two things, right? There's Fast AI and Fast API.
Exactly. We can do all the things. Let's just keep, if it has the word fast in it, we'll just keep going.
Yes, it has to be fast. I mean, that we do it. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I think like what we've been talking about, right? This whole entire kind of dialogue about, keeping engaged thoughtfully, meeting people where they're at, particularly thinking about virtual organizing, finding a format that works, and then something that you can do alongside others is just a really great way, I think, to help deburden yourself and also kind of feel like you're, still building connections with people. I know it's not the same as being near or in real life with people, but there's definitely things. Now, out of curiosity, so look forward, pretend we're, late 2021 or something. Where would you like what is something you want to be doing like in a year-ish from now? Maybe a little longer for year-ish, because who knows if it's going to be, the world will be back then, but at some point in the future, what's one thing you would like to be doing in a calendar year or two from now?
Well,
it's a big one, right?
Yeah. Well, I think ideally by in a year from now, I would know what I want. So I basically, in 3 weeks, I'm have the last day on my job. So it's like, the idea was to take a break.
Which breaks is good. Yes.
It didn't work out because I already have another gig starting in October.
Did you give yourself like at least like a week between, or are you just going right through?
Yeah, there's like this holiday thing. Yeah, so my idea was to take a break, and I would take like a couple of months off, but then I didn't manage. So now I'm going to do like coaching the data science bootcamp in Hamburg, and then maybe after that I take a break. Or maybe I don't need a break anymore after that. Who knows? And yeah, so basically, I guess in a year I will know like what I want to work in, what kind of industry, and or in teaching, or it depends. Like decisions.
Oh, so do you think you might even be open to? Did you say teaching?
Yeah. So this bootcamp is teaching now.
Yeah. I think that's a good outlook to have, is like, as you're kind of thinking about like what's the impact you want to make and what kind of style works for you. I think it's very, very awesome to hear that you're having that dialogue with yourself and that you're thinking about different options of what make you happy. Technology, it's really like, it's a great field to work in, but sometimes I think the burnout can be super real. So, making sure we don't lose good people. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. So I'm reading this book, which is very tricky to read. It's called How to Do Nothing. And
that does sound challenging.
and basically it all says about like how we're like addicted to our phones and social media and all that, right? And then every time I read this, I want to check like, did I get a notification? No. Yeah. So yeah.
Is this Jenny Odell?
Yes, that one.
That sounds like a good read. Yeah, in theory, that would be something I would try to read and then like have existential angst while reading it. But good on you for doing that.
Yeah, it's also like, I think for coding, the way I've been interpreting now the first part of the book is whether you're like one person who likes to write new code or you like refactoring code.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I guess I haven't thought of it like that before. So then bringing it a little bit all full circle, obviously you do a lot. I'm just going to say that, but that's awesome. It's really exciting to see where people are at. So thinking about, your journey, what you studied, how you think about building, intentional good teams, to how you've kind of done a lot of work in the Python space. Thank you for everything you do. What is one piece of advice you may give out there to someone who, be it maybe they're a baby organizer just wanting to get started, or they're wanting just to do more in open source? What are some things that you would recommend to someone?
Well, I would recommend finding allies. So I think a lot of people get stuck. Like the start is the hard part, right? And getting over the start is, you don't always need to figure out everything on your own.
That's a really, yes, I +1 that all the way. How do you find that people, what kind of things have you done for yourself in, finding folks that you can be co-conspirators with, let's call it that?
Yeah, so I think, so with PyLadies, I actually wrote a Medium article back then, how I started the meetup chapter. Yes. Yeah, and basically, so the start for me was basically delayed, I think, by 3 months, because I procrastinated over we are all procrastinators, but I can be really good at it. And it was just like so many unknowns, and like I was getting a little bit like, oh, what do I do first? What do I do that? And you have to set up Twitter, you have to set up the website, you have to do this, you have to wait for that, and this and that. And then it seems like And at the beginning, because you just at that time I was I didn't have colleagues to do it together with, so I found them at the first meetup. So I said, like, who wants to join? First meetup. So at the time I just reached out to people on Twitter that were basically active. So it was like Ellen from Berlin, and she was like, I can put you in contact with the PyLadies Berlin, and you can just ask there. So I joined in the PyLadies Berlin Slack, and I asked there. And and for example, I would say for the topic of open source, there are, even on the online conferences now, you have the sprint days, right?
Yep.
Where sprint days where you can just join. And I guess if you're unsure about your I don't know. So sometimes people, like, instead of asking for help, and when they're unsure, they try to pretend that they're more than, like, they're like more, and then they like turn, like, there's the fine line to become arrogant, and then like it also, so just, if you don't know, just say you don't know and ask for help. It's like, don't try to pretend that you know everything when you don't know, or but what's important to know is that you can do it, right? Like, whatever you set your mind to, you can go through it and do it. I guess it's so I think so for me, it's online. I'm also the generation of messenger versus calling on the phone, so I'm fine with not going out and meeting everybody in real life.
That's completely fair. But I mean, I think some of the things you get to are really, really good ways of thinking about how, be it if you are just wanting to get more involved in open source, having a sense of humility, asking questions, and not being afraid to ask questions, right? We all are people we all start somewhere. So normalizing the experience of asking questions and collaborating alongside one another, that's the spirit, I think, of open source. So I think that's a really, really
and I think like, also from what I've noticed whenever I've been participating in hackathons is that rarely a hackathon team is a successful team when everybody's like a really good developer and everybody's developing. Sometimes you need those people that I'm going to do all the research, I'm going to do all the write-up of stuff. And, like, even when you go into open source, it doesn't have to be that everybody writes all the software, but sometimes you can be the one that, look, I don't understand the README. So let me ask really good questions about the README, because the README is not clear. And that's a really valid, very good contribution to the whole effort, right? And it doesn't, I don't know. So anything, sometimes, it's like, there's this philosophy that the sum of a team is more than the sum of the individuals, right? So it's so I think, I don't know, this togetherness thing, I don't know, it's like, I'm not a philosopher.
No,
I don't want to say anything from
again, it's kind of like reconfiguring when people say they support and they do work in open source. I think what you're speaking to is people don't often think about contributing to documentation, or even not just documentation, but like maybe proofreading or localizing things. But we have to start with the simple building blocks. And then as you get to learn a project, you get more exposed to features and things you can work on. There's actually this really cool, so there's this really cool group of people that are working to get this open source global open source diversity summit going. I don't think there's a date quite yet, but I just plugged it in the chat, opensourcediversity.org. And they, to your point, Teresa, about a cool way you can get involved is maybe finding a conference that you can do sprints in. I know explicitly this was right at the kind of heart of this discussion was, we want to do sprints. What are we going to sprint on? So there's definitely, you don't have to be just, if you're looking for things outside of Python, or if you're looking for a variety of places, I think that would be a really good one for folks to check out. But all that to say that there is a lot of opportunity, and I guess the silver lining right now is everyone is bringing community online. So ideally that's getting some folks access to opportunity they may not have had otherwise. So I know I am thankful for that, at least. Tereza, if people want to keep in touch with you, where can they find you, or how would you prefer people to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter or on LinkedIn. So I would say so you can find me on Twitter. I have the messaging open. And if you like dinosaurs, you can check my Instagram.
I love that.
And so that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna give my phone number nor my. I'm also on the PyLadies. I'm also on the PyLadies Slack, so you can find me there.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, as you've alluded to, we in the PyLadies space, we're trying to only manage less communication platforms. So the PyLadies Slack, you can get an invitation at slackin.pyladies.com as long as you agree to uphold our code of conduct, and we are good to go. So yeah, so people can reach out to you there, or I dropped your Twitter in the chat. Any closing thoughts you would like to share before we wrap up for today?
Yeah, I don't. Wow, that's okay. I will bring the dog out of slumber.
You're like, oh my gosh, what a cutie! Again, he does not look happy to have woken up. What a cutie! I force people to take a selfie with me. Do you want to take a selfie with me?
Okay.
You're like, I need you. Let me get this. Well, we can get the super cutie pie in it as well. All right, I'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess So I have a closing thought, and that is, well, everybody has, I guess. Everybody has to find what's motivating them in a sense, but if you want to contribute you want to learn or you want to do stuff, and sometimes you're not sure how to start, you can do also, as Lorena said, and I also practice this, it's called workshop or conference driven development. Apply somewhere and then just do it. After that, like, figure out how to do it. Just remember to write the description a bit vague about the topic so that you have room to wiggle. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Well, thank you again for your time.
Thank you also.
I love it. So Manny is a Python community member from the West African Python space. It's really exciting to see some people here. For anyone who may be interested in helping do these interviews, or if you have a recommendation of someone we should interview, because as much as I like talking, there is so many other people who should be doing this. So please, please, please reach out to us. Again, we're in PyLadies Slack. We're also on Twitter at just PyLadies. So please let us know if there's folks that you think we should pull into this project. I thank you again so much, Tereza, for your time. It was really, really interesting to get to hear about all the cool work you're doing over there. And I look forward to continuing to see what other cool stuff that you all are doing with PyLadies Hamburg, or just with your own set of cool things you're up to.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
And I wish you a wonderful Sunday.
You as well.
Brutus is going to get dinner now. Actually, that's why he's a bit grumpy.
Oh, poor baby. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Bye.
Bye-bye.